Hello, friends, and welcome to another episode of Coffee with Tea. I'm your host, Tanya Tyler, and I'm excited because we're going to connect with Ms. Ceil the Deal, who's going to talk to us about relationships. But before I go further into that, let's welcome Ms. Ceil to the show. Welcome, Ceil.
Thank you. Thank you, Tanya. I am so honored to be here with you and really being a part. I am so proud. I'm like that little girl telling everybody, like, oh, I'm going to be on Tanya's show.
Oh my God, I'm excited because you have such great energy. Is like just jumps off the screen, and we connected. I always like to share, like tell the audience like where we connect, and we're actually meetup pro meetup. I don't know if you're pro. That's another thing, but we're both meetup organizers, and you invited me to your group so I can learn how to be a better organizer. So I want to say thank you. And with that, that's opened up the doors for me to communicate and grow with other organizers. So I want to say, first of all, thank you for that opportunity. And again, I want to turn it over to you because it's not about the Tanya show here. But I wanted to ask you, Miss Ceil. We've gone through some ups and downs for the last couple of years. Can you tell a little bit about who you are and what have you learned from the things that we've gone through the last couple of years?
Oh, that's a good question. First of all, I am a mother and I was a single mom for many years. And I have a 28-year-old daughter turning 29 soon, proud mama. And secondly, I'd like to describe everything in one word. I'm passionate about this whole thing, and it's about relationships. And sometimes I think about what I say all the time when people, during any course in someone's life, I actually would say something about it's just like a relationship. And for some reason, I would tie it into relationships. And basically, what I do is I help men and women recognize toxic dates and emotionally draining relationships before investing more of themselves. And in a nutshell, that's pretty much what I do. I help men and women who push their painful feelings aside by redirecting their healing and burying their heads in work. And I know that a lot of people try to avoid that. So I bring it out, and it's, as most of my clients would say, it's tough love. But I do speak the truth. I like to speak the truth because sometimes we're surrounded by friends, but our friends try to sugarcoat things so as not to hurt our feelings. And my job is to be not your friend, but be that voice that is being buried deep inside you, that's yelling like, get me out of here, get me out of here. And I'm the one going, come on out. And here, let's face it. And it has helped many people. It has really helped people recover from toxic relationships. It has helped people who are currently in toxic relationships, and it helps them pretty much understand that you don't have to put up with anything that is wrong or abusive, or whether it's just emotionally abusive or verbally abusive. You don't have to put up with that. You can speak your mind, but in a very strategic and careful manner.
Right.
Of course, it varies.
I love what you're doing. Like you said, I didn't understand relationships until I was like 43, and that's a long time ago. Because you talk about relationships, but I don't think for a person who can talk about relationships, did you have what brought you into this passion of talking about relationships? If you can share whatever you want to share, you're comfortable, but did you always have this love for relationships, or where did it come from?
Absolutely. I remember since I was 9 years old, maybe 10, I would borrow those girly, glamour magazines, those Cosmo magazines. And I was too young to read those, right? But I had cousins who had them, I had friends who had them, and they would take them home. And I would go, ooh, can I just read? And I would read the Dear Abby sections all the time. And I would just immerse myself in reading everything. And that's when I figured out that life isn't really easy. Now, for a 9 or 10 year old, you really don't have any concept of the conflict and challenges that life brings when you jump into a relationship, or whether you're just in a relationship, whether it's your parent, your sister, your boss, your teacher, your either way, I never really, but somehow I felt that there was a solution to, or there was a resolution to whatever it is that people were suffering from. I just didn't know what it was. So I buried my head in reading about human psychology and the human brain and how it works and why it works. And even now that I'm almost 59 years old, I realized I would watch Forensic Files or any of these, you know, docu series, not because I wanted to watch someone being killed, but because I keep thinking about what is going inside that person's brain, what is going inside that person's emotions. Why did they suffer? Why are they suffering right now? How come they're actually acting violently? And is it out of anger, hatred, or fear? And I love thinking about those things. And so, in addition to my experience as an adjunct professor at a local medical college in Los Angeles, I also received clinical training and certification for couples on bridging the couples chasm by uh, the Gottman Institute. And John F. Gottman is one of my biggest, I
Oh
just
yeah.
really pay attention to his teachings. And I've also completed additional intensive training as a certified clinical anxiety and treatment professional. And I've mastered telehealth and anxiety treatment in the age of social distancing. So during the pandemic, I focused on that because I knew that, when we had all those lockdowns, I knew that many people had to stay home. And if you happen to be in a relationship with someone who is verbally abusive or emotionally abusive, or worse, physically abusive, unfortunately, during the pandemic, you're stuck because that person is there with you. I've been reading a lot about domestic violence hotlines and how during the pandemic, those 800 numbers were not ringing at all. Why? Because you couldn't talk if your abusive partner is home with you. You couldn't make the phone call because you were there right next to each other. So, my heart really reaches out to people who are currently in those types of relationships and they couldn't leave, or people who have been in those types of relationships and they couldn't move on. And I
Right.
really want to be there to help them.
Right. Right. And then, like I said, I've heard, yeah, like I said, being stuck in that kind of relationship, especially on lockdown, it had to be horrible,
Oh,
because our we could distract ourselves when we're out and about, but when we're locked down with that person, I can't even imagine. So
right.
for that, Miss Ceil, what would your advice be to somebody who's now realizing, that the world is starting to open back up? And what would your advice be to somebody who's like, I'm done? The lockdown revealed a lot of stuff that didn't want to see, or open their eyes. What would your advice be to somebody thinking about the relationships?
Well, every situation would vary, but I definitely would like to give you a few examples. If you are in a relationship with someone who has been verbally abusive to you, and this is something that I really like to share with people who are in toxic relationships. First of all, it's hard to identify the relationship as toxic when you love the person. My question to you is, are you in love with this person? Now, you and only you are the person who can actually answer that question authentically and be as honest with yourself as possible. Are you still in love with the person? I mean, do you still love the person? Are you still in love with the person? Or did you fall out of love With this person, yet you feel you have to stay in the relationship for different reasons, whether it's because you have kids, because you have assets and property and you couldn't leave, or maybe because the person has somehow veiled threats or ultimatums that if you leave, fill in the blanks, right? So there are many reasons why people stay in toxic or abusive relationships. Most of them don't even know the actual reason why. The reason of, oh, we have kids is really, and I hate to use this word, but it is a justification. You're justifying the reason why you're staying in this relationship. Um, and if you think about it, every reason that you have really has a resolution. Every reason somehow can be dealt with. If you really put your mind and heart to it, you can. Let's just give you an example. If your reason is, well, I really don't have any money because he controls the money. And I would just say he, because most of the people who come to me are women. Although during the pandemic, there were men who actually would ask for my advice. And they would say, I can't because I have, I really don't have any funds and I don't know where to go. Well, what I would say to you is right now, start saving up money. Start putting aside money for yourself. Why? Because you want to make sure that if anything happens, if this escalates into something that compromises your safety, you definitely need to make sure that you have something to fall back on and that you're not going to be left out there in the dark by yourself.
Right, right.
It's easy to say, oh, everything's going to be okay. Most of the people that I talk to actually would say that everything's going to be fine. He's going to change. He is, he's trying to make changes and he's trying to make things better. But if he's not seeking professional help, or if your girlfriend or wife is not seeking professional help, know that it will not change.
Right, right. Well, really good points, and this was a very serious topic, but and Ceil has been dropping nuggets already, so I've been picking up the nuggets that she's been dropping. Please give us a thumbs up, maybe follow down with a comment down below, because we really want to dive. You said there was a couple of examples, so how hard is it to I always want to say I learned from my experience, not diving too much into it, but the hardest time is the time, or the most difficult time is the time that you leave. What would your advice be to somebody who's saying, okay, I've got my money ready and I'm ready to go? What would your advice be to them?
Now, once again, and again, that's a great question. Once again, this depends on your situation because every situation would be unique. If you are with someone who has actually threatened danger on your life or on anything that you feel, the first thing you have to do is you cannot keep this to yourself. You need to talk to a professional. You need to talk to someone who can be there in case something happens. It's because it's not easy, right? You feel that somehow, if you feel that you're talking to someone, you feel that, oh, what if this person says something to my spouse and then that's it. That's the end of it. What I would definitely do is if you're planning, if you really have all your ducks in a row, do everything with caution and make sure that you have a strategic plan on how you're going to do it. There are domestic violence shelters that you can contact, and they will help you plan how you do it. These domestic violence shelters are not even advertised. They don't have their addresses advertised on the internet because of very obvious reasons. I would definitely contact someone who is a professional to make sure that you can plan your escape, if you will, in a very safe manner. I would never trigger or never, ever, ever trigger your partner into doing something. Never challenge them. This is something that you should never do. And the reason why is I have a story about someone who, well, he actually had his wife was clinically diagnosed as uh, narcissist, and she was extremely, extremely violent towards him. I mean, it was the the pots and pans. She'd throw it at him. And some people would say, well, it's just a pot and a pan. No, it's not. It's violent. No matter what you call it, you should never ever lay a hand on someone else. I don't care if he's 6'2" and you're 5'3". It doesn't matter. You are still enforcing, you know, your all your strength, and it's unnecessary. And apparently she tapped his phone, and she actually put some kind of spyware on his phone. And so no matter what, he didn't know about it. So he was planning to get, the hell out of there. And it was very painful for him because he didn't know. And and they had children, and it was very difficult, in their situation. And we had to carefully plan how he would do it because, number one, he has his wife, and nowadays you'll never know what it is that they could say. We actually, years before, he actually installed a security camera at home, which is very smart. And this was way before, we started our coaching. And he has been recording instances and incidents at home. And somehow that is something that he's kept in his archives. So a lot of things that you can do to plan your exit strategy is really important, but you need to make sure that everything is very, very well planned.
Right, right. Again, Ceil, very good information for those who are considering or looking at, dealing with a toxic relationship. And it's amazing how fast 20 minutes can go by. But I wanted to ask a couple of key questions before we close out. And one is, what's the one thing you want the audience to take away from your interview today?
The first thing that I wanted to let you know is you deserve to have an amazing relationship. And I realize that life is not perfect, that because we all come from different backgrounds, we all have different upbringings, different religions. And if you come together with someone, no matter what, even if you grew up in the same town, it doesn't matter. You have two different personalities, two different sets of parents. Know that you need to first and foremost, honor yourself. It's easier said than done, but you need to be able to honor what it is that you need in a relationship. If a relationship is not fulfilling you and it's not answering what you need, going back to the 5 love languages by Gary Chapman, it's very true. If you are not fulfilling, if you are not getting the fulfillment that you want from a relationship, why are you in it? Think about it, right? Number two, of course, the second thing is we need to consider what our partner's needs are. Sometimes people act in a really funny way or silly way because they're acting out of fear. And when we stop judging our partners, and it goes both ways. When we stop judging our partners, it's easy to judge. But if we think of the why is she saying this all the time? Or why is he doing this all the time? Think about, did he have parents that were abusive to him? Did he have parents that neglected him and were emotionally unavailable to him? So think about the reasons why first. The third thing is, I would definitely highly recommend that you seek professional help. Seek a therapist, seek a life coach, seek a pastor in church, seek someone who knows your situation. Don't carry this all alone. That is the worst thing you could do to yourself. You need to have someone that you can trust and that you can actually say, okay, I'm going to listen to your advice. I may not follow all of them, but at least I listen. And you have all those golden nuggets in your head, and you need that.
Right. Really good advice. Thank you so much. You gave us so many good takeaways for those. And I wanted to wrap up with the question with, where can people find more information about you, your services, and what you do?
Yes. Thank you, Tanya. Um, I can be reached via Instagram at instagram.com/ from broken to smokin. And smokin is KIN. So
Yes, yes, yes. And my unofficial question is, would you be willing to come back again and maybe dive into more topics and more discussions?
absolutely. Yes. Yes, I would love to with all my heart. And if you have any questions, please let Tanya know and we will definitely talk about it. We'll be brainstorming your questions and maybe we'll focus on, 5 questions at a time and we can answer all those questions.
Yes, thank you. Thank
100%.
you. Ms. Ceil, I want to say thank you for your time. Thank you for your wisdom, your insight that you shared with us. And I want to remind you, yes, she dropped some great nuggets. So if you're in a toxic relationship, please reach out to a professional. Please don't go it alone. Because it's a dangerous time if you're not prepared. It's a mental change plus a physical change. So please seek help wherever you need that help, and know that people like Ceil are there to help you. So please follow out. You know, and I'll again want to thank everybody who tuned in. That feedback is always welcome. Remember that the links that Ceil mentioned will be posted down in the description box. So please make sure you check it out down there. And if you've enjoyed today's show, please give us a thumbs up. Follow up with a comment down below. And again, if you want to continue getting more of the great insight that the guests like Ms. Ceil shared today, and we want to hear other great insights that other people have been on the show can share, please subscribe. Hit that subscribe button over there. And remember, take things in stride, go with the flow, and create your own path. And we will see you back here on another episode of Coffee with Tea. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.